All right, folks, buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into what might just be the most tantalizing debate of all time. Who are the top 5 most beautiful women in history? Beauty, as they say, is in the eye of the beholder, but today we're going to challenge that notion. So here's the hook. Can you really trust history's version of beauty? Or have we all been duped by some seriously biased storytellers? Beauty, in its most subjective sense, is a mix of aesthetics, charisma, and cultural impact. Throughout history, beauty has been a power player, influencing politics, art, and even wars. Imagine it, Helen of Troy, supposedly so beautiful her face launched 1,000 ships. But did she really, or was that just myth-making at its finest? Take Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt and lover to both Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Was she drop-dead gorgeous, or just sensationally smart and politically astute? Shakespeare painted her as the ultimate femme fatale, but many historians argue it was her intellect and charm that truly enraptured her lovers. Cleopatra exemplifies how beauty and power often intertwine, showing that allure is more nuanced than just looks. Then there's Nefertiti, whose bust is still hailed as a paragon of ancient beauty, some 3,400 years later. Her beauty seems unquestionable, yet it raises an interesting point about the Eurocentric standards of beauty that often dominate these lists. Is it fair then to measure her against someone like Marilyn Monroe, who epitomized glamour in 20th century Hollywood, yet struggled with the weight of her own image? Let's not forget about Frida Kahlo, whose unconventional beauty and vibrant self-portraits challenged the very idea of beauty norms. She embraced her imperfections, turning them into art. Her presence on the list invites us to redefine beauty as something personal and expressive, not commercially driven. Of course, this debate brims with controversies. Who truly deserves a spot on this list? Is it the physical attributes or their cultural impact that earns them their place? These questions not only fuel the conversation, but also illuminate how beauty's portrayal influences society's standards and perceptions. Ultimately, this debate is a kaleidoscope of historical, cultural, and personal biases. As we unravel the beauty mythos of these historical figures, I leave you with this question. Is beauty really timeless, or is it just a mirror reflecting the ever-changing values of society? Let us know what you think while we dive into the intriguing stories of these iconic women. Imagine how different history would be if Cleopatra's legendary beauty weren't just a footnote, but the sole superpower that rewrote ancient narratives. Let's dive into the enigma of Cleopatra of Egypt, a woman whose seductive power wasn't just in her looks, but in her cunning political prowess. Cleopatra VII wasn't just a pretty face, she was a savvy ruler whose allure helped shape the destiny of empires. She commanded languages, mathematics, philosophy, and of course, the most intricate art of all, politics. When you think of Cleopatra, think less beauty queen and more strategic genius with killer eyeliner. Cleopatra reigned as the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, a descendant of its founder Ptolemy I, a general under Alexander the Great. Her charm and intellect made her a formidable player in the Roman political scene, which was the epicenter of power in the ancient world. Cleopatra's significance lies in how she masterfully wielded her persona to forge strategic alliances with 2 of Rome's most powerful leaders, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. These alliances weren't just scandalous love affairs, they were calculated political maneuvers that temporarily secured Egypt's independence and her own power. The first case in point, Cleopatra's roll out the red carpet introduction to Julius Caesar in 48 BC, delivered in a rug, or so the story goes, wasn't just dramatic flair, but a calculated entry straight into Caesar's arms and ultimately his plans. With Caesar's military and political backing, Cleopatra solidified her throne. Secondly, her alliance with Mark Antony was much more than an epic romance. Together, they crafted a vision of a new empire that threatened the dominance of Rome. Cleopatra saw in Antony a partner in power, a way to align her kingdom with the might of Rome and shield Egypt from decadence. Now, this seductive power of politics also engenders controversy. Was Cleopatra truly in love with these Roman titans, or were they chess pieces in her Game of Thrones? Did her relationships undermine her reputation as a ruler? Some critics argue that her reign and methods were overshadowed by her romantic affiliations, ignoring the strategic acumen she consistently demonstrated. Cleopatra's tale interweaves beauty with brains, challenging the simplistic notion of beauty's might while highlighting its complex role in leadership and legacy. Whether you view her story as scandalous or strategic, there's no denying that Cleopatra's seductive power was her ticket to immortality. So viewer, what do you think? Was Cleopatra a genius political tactician or just a master of love and manipulation? Let us know your spicy take in the comments below. Picture this, a face so breathtakingly beautiful that it could launch 1,000 ships and spark a decade-long war. Welcome to the legend of Helen of Troy, the mythical figure whose beauty was said to have ignited the most famous conflict of the ancient world, the Trojan War. Whether she was a pawn, a temptress, or merely a woman living in tumultuous times, Helen's story has been captivating imaginations for millennia. But was she really all that? Or is this just history's most elaborate beauty pageant? Now, before you rage comment, but she wasn't even real, think about it. Helen's significance lies in her legendary status as the epitome of beauty, her name synonymous with allure and intrigue. Myth or reality, her story has inspired untold works of art, literature, and even Hollywood movies. Her role in the Trojan War is not just a tale of beauty, but a narrative about desire, power, and the chaos one woman, allegedly, can create. Take, for instance, the epic poem The Iliad by Homer, which chronicles the war and Helen's part in it. Some portrayals suggest she was kidnapped by Paris of Troy, while others hint she went willingly. Was she the victim or the villain? This ambiguity is what makes her story so spicy. It's like ancient Greek reality TV, and everyone's got an opinion. But oh, the controversies. Feminists might argue Helen is a symbol of objectification, her beauty commodified in a male-dominated narrative. Others might romanticize her as a woman exercising agency, choosing her own destiny despite the consequences. And let's not forget those who question the historicity of Helen altogether, branding her merely as a convenient metaphor for conflict. Regardless of where you stand, Helen's tale intricately ties into the larger tapestry of history's most beautiful women. Her story explores themes of beauty, power, and consequence, concepts that continue to resonate in contemporary discussions about women's roles and the perception of beauty today. The enigma of Helen challenges us to think about how we define beauty and the power we give it, intentionally or not. So here's a spicy question for you. Was Helen really the OG femme fatale, or just a scapegoat for testosterone-fueled war games? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's see if modern minds can solve an ancient mystery. All right, folks, buckle up because we're diving into the glitzy, scandal-ridden world of Hollywood's golden era with none other than the legendary Marilyn Monroe. Now, here's a hot take to kick things off. Marilyn Monroe was more than just a pretty face. She was the embodiment of raw, unfiltered femininity that still makes people stop and stare. But how does Marilyn Monroe fit into the pantheon of the top 5 most beautiful women in history? Let's explore. Marilyn Monroe wasn't just an actress, she was a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of the golden age of Hollywood. Born Norma Jean Mortensen, she reinvented herself into the sultry, enigmatic blonde bombshell that left an indelible mark on pop culture. Her allure wasn't just in her looks, but in her ability to captivate audiences with an intoxicating blend of vulnerability and strength. She wasn't afraid to challenge societal norms, using her beauty as a tool to navigate and manipulate the Hollywood machine. But why is she significant in the broader narrative of history's most beautiful women? Well, Marilyn's influence transcended mere aesthetics. She challenged the archetypal notions of beauty and femininity. Think about her roles in films like Some Like It Hot and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Marilyn didn't just inhabit her characters, she elevated them to cultural icons. Her memorable, breathy voice, captivating screen presence, and the million-dollar smile made her the quintessential image of beauty in Hollywood's heyday. Now let's throw in some real-world spice. Marilyn was romantically linked to some of the era's most powerful men, including President John F. Kennedy and playwright Arthur Miller. These liaisons fueled endless gossip and speculation, solidifying her status as a symbol of allure and controversy. People loved and loathed her in equal measure, showcasing how polarizing beauty and power can be. But let's not ignore the dissenting opinions. Critics argue that her persona perpetuates unrealistic beauty standards, while others emphasize her tragic, untimely death as a cautionary tale of fame's pitfalls. Did Hollywood's obsession with beauty devour the real Marilyn behind the makeup? That's for you to ponder, dear viewers. Marilyn Monroe's legacy is a fascinating mix of glamour and tragedy, influencing fashion, film, and the very concept of celebrity. She set a standard that others aspire to and still do. So what do you think? Was Marilyn Monroe's beauty and allure her greatest asset or her ultimate curse? Drop your thoughts below and let's get the debate going.